everybody, I'm Brian from Orchids by Brian, and welcome to my December What's in Bloom. I have a couple really cool plants that are in bloom that I'm so excited to show you, and a few new plants I just added to the collection that may not be in bloom, but I'll highlight for you all here today. So without further ado, let's go check out what we have in bloom here in the Cattleya tent or warm growing grow tent. So first, I have this brand new addition to the collection, which I just love, from my friends at Palmer Orchids. This is a really beautiful Laelia hybrid. This is Cattleya luteola by Laelia flava. So Cattleya luteola by Laelia flava creates these beautiful yellow flowers, and it's mounted on wood, and it just looks so beautiful. I love how they mounted this flower. Wonderful, wonderful orchid. Excited to grow this plant more and get more blooms, because I'm a sucker for these Laelia type flowers. They're so cool. Now down here, as you can see, these cute little flowers. This is my golden orange golden boy Cattleya hybrid, mini cat. Growing really well for me. It's maybe a twice a year bloomer for me, but it is slow. It is a slow grower, but the flowers are totally worth it. 4 flowers on this bloom, which was really impressive compared to my last few, of which I had like 1 or 2 flowers. So really impressed with this. Here's the name of this guy, RLC Shunzi Golden Orange Golden Boy. Wonderful, wonderful little plant. Picked up from New World Orchids in Michigan. Really wonderful flower, and it's growing well for me. So excited to see how it continues to grow and flower in the future. This guy is on his way out. I think I missed him, and he did come in transit from Florida on my recent trip to Florida. But this is Bulbophyllum appendiculata. Really cool Bulbophyllum orchid, species Bulbophyllum orchid. Has these really unique flowers. This flower is just really beat up, I'll be honest. So hopefully it blooms again for me soon. You can see what a fresh new flower looks like. Wonderful night fragrant orchid. It is super fragrant at night. Almost has a lemon type fragrance, and it almost smells outside of the tent. So really cool. I have it hanging from the basket as it's kind of a chandelier type orchid. It just dangles down and makes a wonderful little plant, and it helps my Cattleya, which I think needed a little less light than what I was providing. So it's really, it worked out perfectly. But a wonderful, wonderful Bulbophyllum species. Now over here, I picked up several Dendrobium Cuthbertsoni hybrids from Ecuagenera. Some of them are already out of bloom, unfortunately, but this guy is not. This guy is a wonderful little flower. This is Dendrobium Swiss Mountain Palace. And these Cuthbertsoni hybrids tend to be a lot more forgiving of warmer temperatures, which is great for those of you who can't grow super, super cool. But I'm going to see how they grow for me. I've only had one Cuthbertsoni hybrid, and I picked that up from Tarzan Orchids, and it's growing pretty well right now. So I love the foliage. As you can see, this is Dendrobium ossihilo. But look at the really gorgeous leaves, like almost warty, matte leaves. And they're cute little flowers when they do open up. So excited to grow several of those in the collection. Over here is my Cattleyanthe Ficon Ball, still in bloom, the final flower. No more flowers on this guy, so I'm excited to enjoy him probably for a couple more weeks or a week or two. But a super long-lasting flower. I have to say, this plant was in bloom forever. So really, really nice. Next to it here is my Angrecum distichum. I picked this up from Ecuagenera this recent time in Florida. Got a bunch of new growths coming out, and I'm excited to highlight it when it has flowers. It had one flower when I bought it, but it's since done, since finished blooming. But really cool braided leaves on that orchid. Down here I have a lot in bud and in spike, so I'll highlight those. But the only thing that I do have in flower right now is this Epicatleya Kayaguchi hybrid from Sunset Valley Orchids. And it's a really wonderful plant. I've highlighted it on previous What's in Bloom, so go check that out if you really like this flower. I'll show you a close-up of the flower here. I'm probably already showing you that now, but wonderful little plant and long-lasting flowers too. No sign of slowing down. So now down here are my Brazilian species of Laelias, and they're all doing really well. This is their cool and bright season to simulate their environment in Brazil. My temperatures I try to keep cooler, like 65 during the day, and then it drops down in the 50s at night. And they have 5 LED lights, so high light, almost to the point of sunburn. And I have some in bud and spike. Excuse me. Some in bud and some in spike. So excited to show you those, some new ones. The one that is in spike right now is this guy right here, Laelia Cattleya. So really excited to highlight that, and I'm waiting to see if my Cattleya Leonard Gines hybrid is also going to flower for me this year. So we'll see. Over here I have some buds and spikes on the way on my Why Not Red hybrid. Here's the name of this guy here. But really pretty flowers, and I have 3 spikes coming on this guy, so it could be quite the show. But we'll see when that finally flowers, probably in January, what that looks like. But really great bloomer. Okay, well, that's all I got in bloom right now here in the Cattleya tent. So now I'm going to transition over to show you a couple of the plants blooming on my little display area, where you'll see an amazing frag and path that's in bloom for me right now. Okay, heading over there. Now before we transition over to my cool growing grow tent, I want to show you what I have over here in my little flower display area. I have a couple things in bloom. This guy was in bloom last month, but check out this display right now. 2 amazing flowers open at once, and there's another 2 buds on the way. This is that Phragmipedium Fritz Schomburg, wonderful Kovacii hybrid. And look at these flowers. Gosh, I'm obsessed, especially when there's 2 at once. I mean, this is such an impressive flower. The bigger it grows, the more flowers we're going to have, but just to have 2 is just gorgeous. Love this plant. This guy is still in bloom as well, and this is one of my Phalaenopsis orchids that I picked up from my friends at Tida Orchids. There's the name of that. It's a pyloric Phalaenopsis, and this bud is about to close, or this flower, but as you can see, it has several more flowers on the way. So just wanted to show you that. And then this guy bloomed out of season for me. Typically blooms in the spring, but it's blooming for me now. This is my Paphiopedilum Solos Springtime Olivia. And really pretty Paphiopedilum flower with those mottled leaves. Pretty historic path. Been around for a very long time. And I love the flower. It's so pretty. This is my first orchid in my collection. And it's blooming and growing well for me. Now down here, I don't have any other blooms, but just a couple of my Phalaenopsis that some have spikes and new growth, so hopefully we'll have blooms. But really, my goal was to show you this Phragmipedium and the path. So, all right, let's transition over to the cool growing grow tent. Now, last but not least, I'm going to show you my cool growing or intermediate cool growing tent where I have quite a few blooms. I'd say the majority of my blooms this month are right here, and I have a lot of brand new orchids that I am so excited to highlight. So let's start with the ones that we have in bloom over here. Firstly, we have my Masdevallia siphonantha. It is still in bloom. Wonderful miniature orchid species. Very rare plant. It does have another bud on the way, so I'm very excited to have this plant in bloom. It's been in bloom for a couple months. The flowers are very long lasting, very different, unique flowers. I mean, look at this flower. That is so fantastic. I love this plant. Still in bloom for me, and a wonderful orchid species that I'm excited to have in bloom probably for another month. So can't wait. All right, over here we have my Masdevallia pachyura variation Pardinella. Not in bloom, don't see any spikes yet, but it is a new orchid that I just added to my collection, and it's growing wonderfully. Now, right here is my Restrepia chameleon. It does have a flower right there. Now, while I'm filming this, it still hasn't opened yet, but I am going to cut to a video of the flower open, but wonderful large Restrepia. This plant is pretty big. It's about the size of my hand, and but a really great grower. Seems to be acclimated well. The leaves are super pretty. They're like a dark green, and some of them are red. I think that it's actually because of too high of a light, but still really wonderful. Right here, not in bloom this month, but several buds and flowers on the way. This is my Masdevallia constricta, wonderful intermediate growing species that has very unique flowers. So stay tuned for that in the January What's in Bloom, but really, really wonderful Masdevallia, acclimated super well to my growing conditions, and excited to highlight more blooms. Okay, now right here, this guy is my Pleurothallis dodsonii, and it does have a little flower. I'm going to cut to a video of the flower. It's a very challenging plant to capture with my phone, but really cool flower. Wonderful Pleurothallis that grows very well in my conditions. Right here is my Laelia astrophora, I believe. Let's see if I can find the name here. There it is. Yes, Laelia astrophora. And look at this. I have no idea if this is going to pick up or not. There we go. Check out those tiny, super cute, darling little flowers. I really like this plant a lot. It's a wonderful plant. Picked up from Ecuagenera when I was in Florida recently. And, I mean, you can't get much smaller flowers than this. Also grows intermediate, so my conditions work really well for this plant. And I hear it blooms pretty regularly, but again, it's new to my collection, so I'm not 100% sure on its growth habits quite yet. Now, I have pretty much added every single reticulated patterned leaf Lapanthes to my collection, so I'm going to go through those. I have no blooms at the moment, but this is Lapanthes caladiction by Bulbophyllum, hybrid Lapanthes that's growing pretty well for me. One thing I've realized about this Lapanthes is it's super sensitive to water on its leaves. If water stays on its leaves for a while, they pretty much shrivel up and die. I unfortunately learned the hard way when I went on vacation using my misting system. Did not like that, so for the upcoming holiday, I'm going to have to do some research on how I'm going to keep that guy well taken care of while I'm away. This is Lapanthes tentaculata, another smaller Lapanthes with those very cool flowers, leaves, and it's wonderful. I hear that this one may be a little bit more tolerant of water on its leaves than that hybrid I have, but it's a pretty new plant to the collection, so we shall see. Here we have true Lepanthes caledictian. Definitely larger leaves on this plant, significantly larger than its relatives here above. You can see that the leaves are about twice as big as tentaculata and, of course, the Caledictian barbolifera hybrid. And the leaves tend to be a little bit more darker. So I'm excited to grow this plant and see how it continues to do for me. Now down here, growing really well, definitely not sensitive to having water on the leaves, which I've heard many Lepanthes kind of struggle with. This is a Lepanthes aculeata, and it's growing very well for me. Several new growths on the way. It doesn't seem to flower as prolifically as the Caledictian and the Caledictian barbolifera hybrid, but the flowers are bigger and more impressive. So when it does bloom, it's totally worth the wait. But that seems to be growing very well. Okay, here is my Pleurothallis dorthii, or Dorthiae. It is in bloom. I'll show you, if I can, the flower there. Kind of hard, but I will show you a secondary clip of the flower. But many new growths. This one is doing very well for me. Very easy grower. Seems to be in bloom constantly. So if you like plants like that can have prolific blooming cycles or near continuous blooming cycles, this is a great one. Okay, so over here we have my Specklinia grobii, very small variety. There's also Pleurothallis grobii, which I think tends to be the larger variety. No blooms on that at this time. And then I have one bloom on this Pleurothallis mistax, or I think it's reclassified as Stelis mistax now. But I'll show you a video clip of that flower. Wonderful, dark maroon, almost black flowers. So really, really pretty. Right here is my Masdevallia decumana. Species Masdevallia tends to be more tolerant of warm temperatures and very prolific bloomer in its blooming season, which seems to be late summer to fall, early winter. But very happy. I think this is the last bloom that it will give me this year. Now over here in the back, this is my Pleurothallis viduada, and known for these super cool white flowers. They're wonderful. Reminds me of Pleurothallis praecipola, except of course white, and it has a really nice purple on the inside. A very fast grower, almost weed-like. It just keeps sending up growths and leaves, so if you want something that will grow huge fast, this is a good one. Okay, right here is one of the plants I think that I am most excited about being in bloom this month. This is a Bulbophyllum species that is unidentified. It was imported by a grower and was misclassified, doesn't have a name, and neither myself nor the grower can figure out what it is. So it may be a species that's not yet classified, but still the flowers are very cool. Has a very unique speckled hood. They're almost white, like a white-pink color, and it has one single antenna on the top of each flower. So very interesting plant. One spike for me. I don't know if it's a one spike type of plant or if it's going to send up more, but it's a very large specimen at least. Very pleased with its growing conditions here, so pretty cool. Alright, right here, this Masdevallia is a hybrid Masdevallia copperwing. It's a Veitchiana by decumana cross. So its parents, Veitchiana, I don't have in my collection, but that plant over there is actually the decumana that I showed you earlier. So I have one of its parents. Check out these flowers. This is a really trusty bloomer. It almost blooms all the time. It took like a 1 to 2 month break, and now it's back to blooming again. And it has two blooms right now, and it's super showy. Orange flower with speckles, almost triangular. It's great, and it's very warmth tolerant. So if you're looking for a warmth tolerant Masdevallia, I'm not sure where you can get this now, but if you can find it, it's a great pickup for those of you who want to grow Masdes but don't feel like you have appropriate conditions. Here's another warmth tolerant Masdevallia. This is Masdevallia Angel Heart Ellen. I'll show you a video of the flower. Unfortunately, it fell off today, which is what's prompting me to do this video right now. It does have another bud on the way, but great bloomer, constantly in bloom. I can't name a month when it didn't have a flower either on the way or opened. And it can bloom sequentially from one stem, which I thought was interesting. This is the first time it did that on this last stem. So it had 2 flowers on one stem, which is pretty neat. Okay, now right here is a new pickup. This is Pleurothallis pubescens, or Asianthera pubescens. It has very cool little flowers. Let's see if I can highlight these here. I definitely was able to get a better shot of the flower, so I think I'll probably show you that. But this is a great plant. Grows very well for me in my intermediate conditions, and yeah, the flowers are very neat. They come out of the top of the leaves and they just kind of dangle. They can sometimes trail all the way to the tip of the leaf, but great Pleurothallis relative. Speaking of Pleurothallis, here is my Pleurothallis praecipiua, also in bloom here. Wonderful pink flowers with white tips. Also blooms constantly throughout the year and have about 4 or 5 flowers on the way. So it can have decent flushes every once in a while of blooms. So another great constant bloomer if you're looking for a plant similar to this. Picked it up from Andy's Orchids, and they have them available there. All right, so right here is a Masdevallia. I just picked up Masdevallia gilbertoi, or gilbertoi. It doesn't have any blooms. It's acclimating right now. And then this is Masdevallia wild child hybrid that has very cool flowers. And we are entering its blooming season. I don't know if I've missed it for this one or not, but let's keep our fingers crossed for flowers very soon. Okay. Over here, this is my wall of Restrepias. I do have this Restrepia nidiorinca that's in bloom. This is an intermediate grower, prefers cool, has these very interesting cup-like yellow Restrepia flowers. Very small flowers compared to my other Restrepias, but very different. I can't find one that looks similar to this. The leaves are a little bit thicker, more leathery, and it seems to handle brighter light than this guy down here who opened for me again today. This is my Restrepia royai, and this one is not tolerant of bright light. I mean, even medium level light, the leaves turn red, and it is not happy. But it blooms constantly for me. Every once in a while sends up multiple flowers from the same leaf, and sending up new growths. So really awesome little plant. This Masdevallia papilosa bloomed for me as well. Unfortunately had some struggles with the flowers. They didn't really open well for me, so I don't have any footage of that, but I'm optimistic that it at least attempted to bloom, and probably just need to keep it in an area that has more humidity to assist with that blooming cycle. So this is, of course, my wonderful Spirospermum buxifolium, white neotropical blueberry. Several blueberries. You can see them in the plant there. Very happy little plant. And yeah, it's always wonderful to have all the blueberries. I missed this blueberry right here. There you go. Check it out. Really cool. House plant, not an orchid. But it is related to a blueberry family, and you can actually eat these blueberries. So, pretty neat. Now down here on this shelf, a couple blooms for you. This is my Masdevallia discoida. Very tolerant of warm temperatures. Very interesting flower as well. So if you grow in an area that doesn't have very good humidity and it stays pretty warm, this is a great Masdevallia. It blooms profusely all year round. Has not stopped blooming for me, which is pretty interesting for a species. Now, back here, what I thought was Masdevallia Gold Dust Romeo is actually Masdevallia Whiskers. Cool hybrid, very interesting flower. It does in fact have whiskers, so it has these like fragrance nodules within the flower that give it that almost purple hue, and it smells like banana sunscreen. So it's pretty cool. All right, not much else in bloom over here at this time. Lots of things growing and hopefully will be blooming soon. But this Bulbophyllum putidum, which is one of the worst smelling Bulbophyllums in my entire collection, is still in bloom. It's second to last bloom. It's sending up another spike. It bloomed like 5 flowers out of the single growth, so it's awesome. And it blooms every year right around November, December. And then my Dendrobium Laevifolium aureum, or the yellow, sort of tan version, still in bloom as well. Wonderful Dendrobium with very, very long-lasting flowers. And then here is my one of my Cattleya serratostoloides. Talk about complicated named plants. But it is in bloom with these little white flowers that are actually fragrant. I think this is maybe related to Dendrobiums now. Anyway, I treat it like a Bulbophyllum and water it constantly, giving it lots and lots of water. And it seems to be happy. Blooms about twice a year. Okay, now down here, I don't have anything in bloom. This is sort of my larger Bulbophyllums that I have growing. So, Bulbophyllum Jersey, Bulbophyllum Elizabeth Ann Buckleberry, Echinolabium, Emily Segrist, and Sunshine Queen Yellow, all of which are in their growth period. So, no flowers at this time, but they're happy, healthy, and growing strong. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to conclude my December What's in Bloom. A couple of really interesting plants to show you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for subscribing. Happy holidays to all of those of you who celebrate, and I hope you all have a happy new year. I won't see you until after the new year. But stay tuned, watch the content that I put out. I'm putting out a really awesome video. I actually put it out last week on looking for native orchids in the Everglades. It's brand new content. I worked really hard on putting it together, and I hope you all enjoy watching it just as much as I enjoyed making it. So with that, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Brian from Orchids by Brian. I'll see you in 2025. For lots more content. I have some really exciting projects coming up. I can't wait to share. So, thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Goodbye.